Rade slowly disconnects the last hard drive and looks at his friends, his eyes communicating his shock. The protos were real. Not only that, but there was a human resistance who fought against AlphaBots and the metaverse. After he lets these facts sink in, he stammers over all of this information as he relays it to the group. They all look at each other with troubled expressions as he describes a virus that was created and used against AlphaBots. Did this virus have something to do with the protos' disappearance? What was that distress signal, and what did it mean for the human resistance? Rade was overcome with both fear and disbelief as Theodore says what they were all thinking. This human resistance was against the metaverse, and they believed the protos were trying to surpass their human creators. Theodore theorizes that these humans must have built a refugee camp in what was now the wastelands, away from civilization and away from Descental headquarters, in order to try and trap the protos. This apparently did not go according to their plan. Theodore speaks fast as he speculates that the coordinates that they are on their way to right now may be the very same location that was depicted on the hard drive. They could be heading straight into the base camp of a long-forgotten human resistance. The group clamors over each other with their own theories and what-ifs until they feel the hovercraft begin to slow down, meaning they must be at their destination. Silence falls as they all rush to the windows to look out on a sand dune that is roughened with exposed rock. As they get closer though, they are not entirely convinced it is rock at all. The pointed edges look as if it was cut and manufactured, a bit too pristine to be natural. Shepard settles the craft to a halt at the base of the dune and climbs out of the cockpit. The four of them inspect the dune until one of them motions to the others, noticing a caved-in, shaded covering that holds beneath it a large metal doorway. They look onto the anomaly in silence, before simultaneously turning towards the caged AlphaBots in synchronized strides. Shepard's eyes are directed at Theodore as he demands he tell him what it is. Theodore is quiet as he zooms in and scans over the doors. He notices an interface on the right side of them, with a screen and a keyboard. He points this out to Shepard and tells him he should investigate. Shepard taps on the keyboard, and the screen immediately lights up. He looks back at Theodore for guidance. Theodore glances at Rade, Zeek, and Forah with a glimmer of mischievousness on the corner of his eye. He tells Shepard that he must be let out in order to inspect it closer. Shepard stares blankly at Theodore, while communicating silently for a moment, until the two of them start walking towards the vessel, complying with his request. They release him and promptly lock the doors behind him, as he steps out onto the sand. As he gets closer, the Shepards stop him before he can reach the interface, telling him that it's close enough. Theodore scans the metal doors, the scratched-up screen, and back again, as if looking for something specific. Eventually, he faces Shepard with defiant eyes as he gives him the passcode one key at a time. Immediately after the last key is entered, rushing air releases from behind the metal doors. They all stare on, awaiting the unknown, until the sound stops and turns into silence. There is an abrupt flash that follows. It originates from under the covering, casting itself onto Shepard, causing him and the subsequent three other of him to collapse into convulsing electric heaps on the ground. Theodore immediately jumps back as the electricity travels from one Shepard to the other. With not a second to spare, he darts towards the ship and unlocks the door for his new friends. They tumble out of the cage while hurling questions towards Theodore. He tries to calm the trio by explaining that this was all according to his plan. Based on his research and speculations, he concluded that this passcode was a trap that was set up by the humans for the protos. He believed the humans put it out there intentionally, wanting the protos to get a hold of it, in order to trigger a secret attack, rendering them helpless. It turns out his speculations were correct. As they are talking, the sound of releasing air can be heard once again, but the group hardly notices at first. Something is brewing behind the metal doors. Meanwhile, Shepard's convulsions have slowed to a halt, with the only movement surrounding their bodies being a small cloud of smoke that is rising up off of them. Suddenly, the group grows still as well, as they all notice the metal doors creaking open towards them. It reveals a vacant and stretching hallway, the lights flickering on as if inviting the group to enter. They extend themselves to better look down the corridor, but none of them possess enough courage to take the first step inside. The sound of creaking metal and faint buzzing noises grabs the attention of the group as they begin to see Shepard rising beneath the smoke. His voice glitches as he appears to try to speak. All of his eyes glow in a crimson hue, while his eye symbols display some foreign symbology. In the next glitch, they are on their feet, staring at the AlphaBots with an ominous and unfamiliar expression. It is at this moment that Zeek realizes that this is no longer Shepard at all. The leading Shepard's body begins to rise his hands into the air. As they rise, the three extensions of Shepard move in spasms inward toward the One until they stand next to their leader, sharing the mysterious symbols of their eyes. Rade, Zeek, and Forah look unsteadily onto Theodore, as if pleading that this was part of his plan too, but he only stares directly forward at Shepard, in a state of shock. As Shepard begins to glitch again in an attempt to say something, the only sounds that come out are screeching and indistinguishable, before suddenly they charge the group and force them down the corridor, as if they are being swallowed whole by the anomaly.